Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and what a way to end the week, the working week I should say anyway, ahead of Celtic's friendly against Newcastle on the return to Celtic Park tomorrow. We have big news of a rejected bid for another striker here at Celtic, and that comes after Brendan Rodgers confirming he was still in the market for a striker. So we've got all of that to discuss today and more. It's a big way to end that working week. Before you jump to the pub for a pint, I'll give you the updates, so bear with me. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We are very, very close now to 51,000 subscribers. We'll be live again tomorrow for the watch-along against Newcastle United, the first game back at Celtic Park this season. And don't worry, it won't cost you 25 quid to come and watch along with me. So I'll be live from around 10 to 3 tomorrow afternoon. Feel free to join me. Now let's get into the news. Now, before we talk about this rejected bid for a striker, it's very important we cover Brendan Rodgers' comments after the Sporting Lisbon game on Wednesday night, because it was in that post-match interview he confirmed that Celtic will still be looking at potential striking options despite the signing of Shin Yamada. And basically 24 hours later, we hear about a rejected bid. So Brendan Rodgers, when asked about Shin Yamada on Wednesday night, said this: he will be completing his medical over the next couple of days and we'll have a look at him. We've lost a lot of goals, so we need to replace that, and hopefully this can be a number of players that can come in and bring in that aspect. He's got intensity, he's got work rate, and it's something that the scouts have seen. Now, then he moves on to a completely different point where he essentially says that Shin Yamada isn't his signing, because he says, in terms of the club, we will bring in players to develop and players for now. Even though he's a bit older, he's probably one of those that can give us intensity and pressure. I need to look and see him when he comes in, and hopefully he can do well. The idea was to bring him in and assess him. He's a strong boy, but we'd want to add to our front line also. So Brendan Rodgers effectively saying, yeah, I'll give Shin Yamada a chance. I will use him if I need be. We'll assess him, but he's still even not sure himself by the sounds of it. It sounds like this is somebody similar to Hayato Inamura that the club have identified, seen the cheap transfer fee and brought in, while Brendan Rodgers still yearns for his own striker. Rodgers went on to say, I'm not so much worried about a big name. It's a collective of the team. Big names don't always give you what you need. The team needs hunger, goals, work rate and intensity. Big names don't always give you that. It's about big players. I just want players who are hungry to learn but also ready now. There are lots of players linked with us. He then went on to say that Odsonne Edouard isn't on Celtic's radar despite those rumours last week. Surprise, surprise. It's almost as if I said that. But now, the transfer rumours are starting, and maybe Brendan Rodgers and Celtic are moving for who he thinks could be the striker to lead his forward line. And that striker could be Romanian forward Luis Montanu, who has been linked with Celtic over the past 12 hours. And beyond that, reports suggesting that Celtic have had an initial €8 million bid rejected by his club, Cluj. Cluj, of course, a side we're familiar with, playing in Champions League qualifiers in recent years. The Romanian forward has been a standout for them this past season or so, and is valued very, very highly. Celtic apparently going in with a bid of around €8 million, which is around £6.5 million, which has been thrown out by the Romanian club. Now, these were the headlines in Romanian publication I Am Sport last night, stating that Cluj have rejected another offer for Luis Montanu, and this one is a £6.5 million, €8 million bid from Celtic. They say that there are a number of clubs across strong championships fighting for his signature. However, Cluj's management is not giving up and wants to sell him for a sum well over €10 million. So Celtic have been rejected, and they're not the first to feel that rejection, because the owner of Cluj has declared he would want to receive €18 million in exchange for Luis Montanu, and Celtic were rejected on the spot. Now, apparently Cluj have accepted they will lose the player this summer. €18 million though is a nuts price tag to put on your player. That's a big amount of money. And a lot of people online throwing around this, surely Cluj can't even knock back 8 million, never mind 18 million. But this is the type of market that Celtic should be familiar with, because this is what we do with our players. We want to sell our players for 20, 25 million pounds. Why shouldn't Cluj be able to do the same thing? So it's certainly not going to be easy if Brendan Rodgers and Celtic have identified Montiano as the man. But yeah, we're a long way away from the price tag they're asking for. And it's easy to see why the owner wants so much more money for the striker, because this has been his run of form as of late since joining Cluj this time last year. 26 goals in 43 games with a further 3 assists on top of that. He has been very, very good and has a very good record basically everywhere he's been. Fiorentina at youth level, he was quite good. Under 19s, that was the sort of academy he came through. At FC Viitorul, he also done well there with 25 goals in 86 games with a further 11 assists on top of that. And obviously, as we've said, his most prolific season has now come with Cluj in the past year. So they have a long contract on him. They have another 3 years left on that deal, and they see this money as what they deserve. Now, if he is keen on a move, then of course a middle ground will have to be, they'll have to come to some form of agreement to let the player go, but it doesn't seem like Cluj are in any form of rush, and if Celtic really want him, they're going to have to pay through the nose for him. But the owner has put the foot down, because this quote from another Romanian publication, Sport Per Source, Cluj owner Netulu Varga said, "I've clearly said that Montiano will only leave if someone pays 18 million euros. I'm not discussing anything else." So, yeah, if that's it, if he's not going to budge, I think we can wave goodbye to this very, very quickly. I think it will come and go. But we know that Celtic are in, and we know that there's been a bid rejected following Brendan Rodgers' comments of needing a striker. It's just now about the stubbornness of Cluj and their owner. Will the owner back down and accept a fee, which will obviously do the club a lot of good? You would assume a record sale for them as well. And this is a big, big opportunity for the player to come over to Celtic, play Champions League football, play at one of the biggest clubs in Europe. I'm pretty sure he'll be keen to discuss something along the lines of a move. So you're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But if he's wanting £18 million, we've went in with an initial bid of £8 million. That's £10 million off the mark. 10 million. That's a lot of money. And it's money that Celtic are clearly not going to throw at it. This one might be pissing in the wind. It might be as simple as that. My final thoughts would be good player by the looks of it. Certainly a striker that knows where the net is, scoring for a decent sized club over in Romania, one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in Romania. And I have confidence he would come over to Celtic with the ability to score goals. But 18 million euros is just, it's far too much money, isn't it? Just being realistic. So we'll wait and see if anything else comes out of it. We'll wait and see if the owner maybe backs down and allows discussions of a maybe 9 or 10 million euro price tag. But I have my reservations, to be quite honest with you. We need to talk about outgoings very quickly, and we'll start with Luis Palma because it's been reported that he is about to move away from Celtic again, and once more it will be on loan capacity to begin with. These were the reports coming out of Poland yesterday morning that Luis Palma is close to joining Lech Poznan. The Celtic winger could move to Poznan on a 1-year loan. Talks are ongoing. If it goes through, it will be a big deal. Palma is a top tier player. The agreement is expected to include a very high buyout clause, around €4.5 million. So once again going out on loan with an option to buy that would allow Celtic to recoup everything they spent plus make profit on Luis Palma. So yeah, this is one of those ones where if it goes well, Celtic have played a blinder. If it doesn't go so well, we'll probably find ourselves back in the same situation next year. But Brendan Rodgers did confirm this on Wednesday that he'd move out on loan, so it looks very likely he'll be joining the Polish champions, which means there's a possibility we could come across him in the Champions League, which would be quite funny. I think the funniest thing though about all of this is the fact that, what did I say the other day? Stop getting your knickers in a twist with everything you read online and your impatience, because there was folk thinking that wee report that came out of Honduras from a page of 10,000 followers suggesting that Luis Palma wasn't going anywhere was concrete, and people were losing the rag thinking that we were keeping him around as an option, and then bang, 24 hours later he's off. Patient, man, just Find some patience and stop being so like, angry at everything you see. He's off. He's away. We have been freed. I wish him the best of luck for the sake of his own career. It clearly was never going to work at Celtic, and we'll see when this one gets finalised, you would assume, over the next week. We have heard from Brendan Rodgers after the game against Sporting that moves for Kwon and Yang could potentially be in the offing. So there's a couple of moves, or a couple of transfers out of the club that could be finalised very, very soon. On that note, I'm going to now play you a wee clip from my discussion with Tino of the Celtic exchange yesterday, where we spoke a little bit about the transfer window and what Celtic need to do and cutting dead wood and everything else. It was a great chat with him, and I urge you all, go and check out the Celtic exchange on YouTube, Spotify, all of our audio platforms as well. Great lads, fantastic to talk to, and it was nice to hear some different thoughts and different opinions from my own on this show. So I'm going to play that clip now to end off the video, and yeah, go and hit subscribe over in their channel, give them some support, and tell them Ryan118 sent you. I started to think before last night's game that maybe after spending 9 million, and maybe because we aren't getting linked with many big name strikers, or I don't like using the phrase big name strikers because I think it's hard for Celtic to even sign such a thing, but yeah. I thought that before last night that there was a real chance that maybe this was the plan, maybe that after spending that money that Rodgers was like, right, we'll give it a go. But you see the performance last night, you hear what Rodgers is saying after the game, and it doesn't feel like that's maybe the plan. So he's got to obviously prove that himself. He needs more minutes, and I know some people after last night were saying give him less minutes. People will want him stripped of minutes, but this is a guy that scored 20 goals with very limited opportunities last season. So to improve on that, he needs more. He needs more minutes. He needs more chances. I think that there's never write off the possibility of him being Celtic's main man, but to be the main man, he needs to be playing at that level. You're talking about the Hibs game. I brought up those other games, those other big games. He needs to start treating every game like that. He's got to start treating like every game is like futures on the line, trophies on the line. Otherwise, I think that this is make or break from this season. Really do.
Brendan Rodgers was speaking after the game last night, and obviously very pleased at the performance first and foremost. He said that's what they focus on. The results will come on the back of that, and that was great to see. But I would call it a thinly veiled attack on Ida, where he said we got in great positions in the final third and we've got to finish them off. Yep. And it seems like he was pointing that towards Adam Ida. And he's at a real crossroads. This is a huge moment, or a huge junction in his Celtic life, because if he doesn't kick on now, Brendan Rodgers is already making noises. Interestingly, actually, his comments, he was saying, as opposed to big name strikers, I just want to bring in guys that are hungry, ambitious, point to prove. I don't know if that's kind of burning us up a wee bit for uninspiring signings to come. Who knows? God. Gone are the days where Celtic can sign names. We can't sign anybody.
It's like even a striker. Right? Let's be honest here about one thing. See, before Mattis Visgarden was linked to Celtic for the first time, had I heard
nice pronunciation?
Had I heard of the guy? Absolutely not. David Strelic of Slovan Bratislava before Celtic played them last year. Had I heard of the guy? Absolutely not. But they're guys that are scoring goals, and then you're made aware of that when you're first linked with them. But I think there's still an element of the Celtic support who are expecting us to go. Like the whole Evan Ferguson thing came up and about, and I think he's now going to like Roma or something for 30, 40 million quid. I'm like, is this what you're expecting us to do? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. On that note, Ryan, let's take a wee look at the business done so far. We know all about KT, but just very briefly, how good is it to see him back in the hoops?
Brilliant. It just kind of feels... when he walked out in the pitch against Estrella on Saturday, it felt weird because obviously we've knew about it since January, so it doesn't feel like it's like this big breaking news or whatnot, but to see him back at this age, in this stage of his career, it just feels brilliant. And I thought he had a quieter game last night. He didn't have too much to do, but against Estrella, he looked fit, he looked ready to go, he was bombing up and down the line. I thought the partnership already with Maida looks decent. I'm just so happy.
It's a ridiculous signing, isn't it? We should be nowhere near. If you take away the fact that he's Kieran Tierney, if Celtic were linked with a 27, 28-year-old left back from Arsenal who'd been there for 4 or 5 years,
and the fans loved them as well.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to touch it. And I think he was on 100k plus a week as well. For that alone, you shouldn't be able to touch it. So credit to whoever at Celtic has managed to make that work. Obviously, there's a huge emotional pull for Kieran Tierney, and that's there's no secret about his allegiances, but somebody somewhere has made the numbers work, and credit for that, because he's an exceptional player and we're right to be excited. The other signings, as we know, so Benjamin Negren we've touched on.
Yes.
Ross Doohan, with every respect to Ross Doohan, we shouldn't see him much. He's there as backup and that's fine.
I know this might be a bit for some people daft to say, I think that's a great signing. Just
Makes
because
sense.
it helps with the criteria, it's solid third choice keeper.
Yep.
Great business.
All good. Fuss free. Comes in, does his job. Two other guys I want to let's leave Shin Yamada. It looks like that's a done deal, but let's leave that for now. The two other guys are Callum Osman and Hayato Inamura. And interesting the way Brendan Rodgers spoke about the latter when he arrived. What's your thoughts on those two guys and their future this season?
Well, firstly on Inamura, I'm glad that his first couple of performances in a Celtic shirt have really kind of calmed those down that were getting actively angry about it.
Including the manager.
Including the manager, I suppose. But there was the reaction to his signing blew me away. For a 250 grand project that, if it goes the wrong way, won't do any harm to the club. I really thought that some people were getting far too carried away. That's just my opinion. I've seen people who were just genuinely angry about it. And I was like, I get that the meaning of the transfer might bring about a certain form of emotion that makes you worry, but him himself has done nothing to deserve any sort of backlash or fury. And then bang, he goes out and plays his first game, and the same people who are angry about it are saying that he should be starting playing games for Celtic. So listen, I don't expect to see him much this season, but risk-free, fine with it. And Callum Osmond, so far I don't think he's maybe impressed me as much as I would have hoped in the friendlies, but once again, friendly games, it's going to take time. Once again, risk-free, high potential. It seemed like Fulham fans were genuinely a bit gutted to lose him, so he's certainly a guy that we'll be keeping an eye on and hopefully makes an impact when called upon, when things really, really matter.
It's always a good gauge, isn't it, what the former club's fans do think about, and there's a lot of noise. And Fulham have got a serious reputation as an academy. Obviously, we benefited from Moussa Dembele's move up here, Matt O'Reilly's move. Paddy Roberts was ex-Fulham, I think.
Of course.
They got 11 million from Man City for him at the time. So they've got a great reputation. I suppose the concern as such is that to date, Callum Osmond has 0 senior minutes under his belt. At the moment, he's potential, and that's all he is. He's got England youth caps, Wales youth caps, and he's certainly got something about him. But whether he gets a chance to show that, I mean, you would nice to be surprised if he went out on loan, but it would seem an unusual move to bring him in and ship him out straight away. But
it just seems for Celtic fans that and I get it, the problem might not necessarily be the players themselves. It's what are they going to be relied upon, and should Celtic be relying upon a guy who's made 0 competitive games or starts in his career, or even appearances off the bench at senior level. But listen, for what's the development fee, something like 400, 500 grand.
Yeah.
As long as we don't over rely on these boys to turn around and save our season, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So Celtic will play the Champions League qualifier. I think the first game's around about the 17th,
mid-August,
18th,
something like that.
and then a week or so later you'll play the second leg. The draw is on the 4th of August, I'm sure. And if Celtic start that game with Callum Osmond up front and Inamura at left back, and
then I would be joining in with the pitchforks, you know.
And Ross Doohan and the sticks, all that kind of stuff. So, as I say, I think this kind of blended signing policy works, because I want KT to start that game, and he absolutely will. And I want Negren to start that game, and it looks like at the moment that he will as well. So you've got a couple of players who will start and have an immediate effect on your first team, and you've got a few guys that are on the periphery that might go into an impact, and we'll see what we do in the remainder of the window.
Right, that does it for today. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow for the watch along, as I said, and we'll watch the story about the Romanian striker. If it develops and blossoms into anything, we'll be right here to report on it. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you all next time.